A nun walks into the Mother Superior's office and plunks down into a chair. She lets out a sigh, heavy with frustration. "What troubles you, sister?" asked the Mother Superior. "I thought this was the day you spent with your family." "It was," sighed the sister, "and I went to play golf with my brother. We try to play golf as often as we can. You know, I was quite a talented golfer before I devoted my life to Christ." "I seem to recall that," the Mother Superior agreed. "So, I take it your day of recreation was not relaxing?" "Far from it," snorted the sister. "In fact, I took the Lord's name in vain today." "Goodness, sister," gasped the Mother Superior, astonished. "You must tell me all about it." "Well, we were on the fifth tee, and this hole is a monster 540-yard par 5 with a nasty dogleg right and a hidden green. And I hit the drive of my life, the sweetest swing I've ever made, and it's flying straight and true, right along the line I wanted. And it hits a bird in mid-flight. "Oh my," commiserated the Mother Superior. "How unfortunate! But surely that didn't make you blaspheme, sister." "No, that wasn't it," admitted the sister. "While I was still trying to fathom what had happened, this squirrel runs out of the woods, grabs my ball, and runs off down the fairway." "Oh, that would have made me blaspheme," sympathized the Mother Superior. "But I didn't, Mother," sobbed the sister, "and I was so proud of myself. And while I was pondering whether this was a sign from God, this hawk swoops out of the sky and grabs the squirrel and flies off, with my ball still clutched in his paws." "So that's when you cursed," said the Mother Superior with a knowing smile. "Nope, that wasn't it either," cried the sister, anguished, "because as the hawk started to fly out of sight, the squirrel started struggling, and the hawk dropped him right there on the green, and the ball popped out of his paws and rolled to about 18 inches from the cup." The Mother Superior sat back in her chair, folded her arms across her chest, fixed the sister with a baleful stare, and said, "You missed the putt, didn't you?" Two nuns are walking down the street when they notice that a man is following them. Sister Michael, the older and wiser nun, says to the young and naive Sister Patrick, "See that crossroad ahead? You go left and I'll go right. He can't follow us both. We'll meet back at the Abbey." So the sisters part and the man follows Sister Michael. Sometime later, Sister Patrick is anxiously waiting at the Abbey when Sister Michael returns alone. "Thank the Lord you are all right," exclaims Sister Patrick. "But what happened to that man?" "Well," replies Sister Michael, "after a few minutes, I stopped and pulled up my dress." Sister Patrick stares in shock. "Then," continues Sister Michael, "he stopped and pulled down his trousers." Sister Patrick gasps. "Oh, sister, why would you let him do that?" "Because," explains Sister Michael, "a nun with her dress up can run faster than a man with his trousers down." 3 nuns die and go to heaven. At the pearly gates, St. Peter tells them that they must each answer a biblical question to get in, but he reassures them that they're quite easy. "Who was the first woman?" he says to the first nun. "Eve." The gates swing open and she walks in. "Where did Eve live?" He says to the second nun, "The Garden of Eden." The gates swing open once more. "Now, seeing as you're the Mother Superior, you must answer a more difficult question. What was the first thing Eve said when she saw Adam?" St. Peter says to the third nun, "Oh, that's a hard one." The gates swing open. A priest and a nun are having a tennis match. The priest is very competitive but can't seem to bring his A game to the nun, who is clearly better. After a volley from the nun, the priest misses and yells, "God damn it, I missed!" startling the nun. She let it slip by and the match continues. But alas, after a fierce backhand from the nun, the priest misses and again yells, "God damn it, I missed!" "Stop it," yells the nun. "You can't use the Lord's name in vain like that." The priest apologizes. "I'm sorry, sister. I swear to you, if I do it again, may God smite me with all his might." "Fair enough," grumbles the nun. The match continues. It's going really well, but as fate may have it, the priest misses and slips another. God damn it, I missed! Suddenly, thick, dark clouds gather in the sky, and with roaring thunder, a lightning bolt shoots down to the earth and vaporizes the nun into ashes. A thundering voice emits from the skies. Damn it, I missed! A priest and a nun are caught in a blizzard. They find a deserted cabin and take shelter. They find a sleeping bag, a bed, and a pile of blankets. The priest, being a gentleman, offers the nun the bed and takes the sleeping bag for himself. As they get tucked in for the night, the nun calls out, "Father, Father, I'm cold!" So the priest gets up and puts another blanket on the nun. "Is that better, sister?" he asks. "Yes, Father, much better," she replies. So he gets back in his sleeping bag and starts to nod off when she again calls out with, "Father, I'm still cold." So once again the priest gets up and puts another blanket on her, ensuring she is tucked into the bed well. "Is that better, sister?" he asks. "Oh, yes, Father, that's much better," she says. So the priest gets back into the sleeping bag, and this time is just starting to dream when he wakes up to her call of, "Father, Father, I'm just so cold." The priest thinks long about this and finally says, "Sister, we are in the middle of nowhere in a blizzard. No one but you, myself, and the Lord himself will ever know what happens here tonight. How about just for this night, we act as though we were married?" The nun thinks on this for a minute. She can't help but admit to herself she's been curious and finally answers with a tentative, "Okay, Father, just for tonight, we will act as though we are married." So the father replies, "Get up and get your own damn blanket, you cow," and rolls over to fall asleep. A nun was praying when the priest approached her. The priest lightly tapped the nun on the shoulder and asked her to follow him. The priest walked away, and the nun quickly followed not far behind him. They arrived in a room behind the church. The priest went inside the room and gestured for the nun to do the same. "Sister, close the door," said the priest. "Jesus, if something ever happens, please forgive my soul," prayed the nun. "Sister, lock it," said the priest. "Jesus, if something ever happens, please forgive my soul," prayed the nun. "Sister, close the window curtains," said the priest. "Jesus, if something ever happens, please forgive my soul," prayed the nun. "Sister, close the lights," the priest said. "Jesus, if something ever happens, please forgive my soul." "Sister, come here beside me," the priest said. "Jesus, I'm sorry for what is about to happen. Please forgive my soul in heaven," prayed the nun. "Sister, look at my watch. It glows in the dark." A nun, badly needing to use the restroom, walked into a local Hooters. The place was hopping with music and loud conversation, and every once in a while, the lights would turn off. Each time the lights went out, the place would erupt into cheers. However, when the revelers saw the nun, the room went dead silent. She walked up to the bartender and asked, "May I please use the restroom?" The bartender replied, "Okay, but I should warn you that there is a statue of a man in there wearing only a fig leaf." "Well, in that case, I'll just look the other way," said the nun. So the bartender showed the nun to the back of the restaurant. After a few minutes, she came back out, and the whole place stopped just long enough to give the nun a loud round of applause. She went to the bartender and said, "Sir, I don't understand. Why did they applaud for me just because I went to the restroom?" "Well, now they know you're one of us," said the bartender. "Would you like a drink?" "But I still don't understand," said the puzzled nun. "You see," laughed the bartender, "every time someone lifts the fig leaf on that statue, the lights go out." Now, how about that drink? A nun is praying in her convent in rural Ireland when there is a sudden bang and a cloud of green smoke appears. When the smoke clears, she sees two honest-to-goodness leprechauns standing in front of her, looking just like the legend said they looked. Fine green clothes, top hats, red mutton chops, and standing about 2 feet tall. One stares at his feet sheepishly. The more confident one speaks. Top of the morning to you, Mother. We come with a question. Are there any leprechaun nuns here? The young nun is still shocked by their presence, but answers, No, I've been here 5 years, and there are no leprechaun nuns in this convent. Only 5 years, though, not quite an expert. Has anyone been around a bit longer? Asked the leprechaun. Oh, Mother Superior has been here nearly 60 years, and she would be able to answer any questions you have, responds the young nun. She leads them up the stairs and down a long hallway to the office of Mother Superior. The one silent leprechaun continues staring sheepishly at the ground. It's an honor to meet you, Mother Superior. We have some questions. Mother Superior adjusts her glasses in disbelief at what she's seeing. My goodness, for such special guests, please ask anything you wish. We understand there are no leprechaun nuns here now. Has there been any in your tenure? She responds, Oh no, I would certainly remember that. He asks again, You have studied the history of this convent. Any records of any leprechaun nuns in those archives? She thinks for a moment. I've read every book in our library twice. Definitely no leprechaun nuns in our history. Well, what about in any other convent in Ireland? Do you think one might be there? Mother Superior strokes her chin. Oh, I doubt that. Certainly a story like that would have made its rounds through here by now. The leprechaun grins. If not in Ireland, I know there are convents all over God's creation. Perhaps one is there. The nun frowns. If there was not one in Ireland, I have to doubt there would be one anywhere on earth. The leprechaun turns to his friend and says, See? I told you that you slept with a penguin. A nun goes to the priest and says, Father, there's a hole in the roof of your church. Thank you for telling me, he replies, but you've been here for years. It's our church. The next day, the nun goes to the priest and says, Father, there's a broken window in our church. He thanks her again and calls for a repairman. The following day, the priest is preparing for a visit from the local bishop. As he is weeding the gardens, he cuts his hand. Calling the nun over, he says, There's a bottle of rubbing alcohol in my quarters somewhere. Could you fetch it for me? The nun nods and goes looking for it. As the priest is greeting the bishop, she returns from the church and loudly announces, Father, don't worry about the weed. The alcohol was under our bed. A nun gets out of bed and she meets another nun who smiles and says, Someone got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning. The nun shrugs, thinking she wasn't really that grumpy looking, and continues to the bathroom, to be met by another nun who looks her up and down, smiles and says, Someone got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning. This happens another 12 times. By now the nun is so mad, she bumps into Mother Superior who smiles at her. The nun screams, Don't ask me if I got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning. I wasn't going to, Mother Superior replies. I was just going to ask why you were wearing the bishop's slippers. A nun at a Catholic school was asking her 10-year-old students what they wanted to be when they grew up. Susie, what do you want to be when you grow up? Susie said, I want to be a doctor. Very nice, the nun said. Jenny, what do you want to be when you grow up? Jenny said, I want to be a teacher. Excellent answer, the nun replied. Martha, what are you going to be when you grow up? Martha replies, I want to be a prostitute. Hearing that the nun faints, the little girls all rush forward to the nun, laying on the ground, and try to help her. Shortly, the nun regains consciousness and says in a weak voice, Martha, what did you just say you wanted to be when you grew up? Martha says, I said I wanted to be a prostitute. Oh, thank goodness, the nun said. For a moment, I thought you said you wanted to be a Protestant. A man walks into a bar when a nun sees him. You are just a sad man. The Lord probably doesn't love you because you are a drunk, said the nun. 1 beer. I was just going in for 1 beer. Also, what do you know? Maybe drinking is not that bad after all, replied the man. Getting drunk is a sin. Drinking a little alcohol always leads to more drinking, said the nun. Maybe you should try it. Before you make such claims, I'll buy you a drink, my treat, said the man. I don't know. Maybe one glass wouldn't hurt, but I have one request. Bring it in a mug so people won't talk. I do not want to attract attention, said the nun. The man walked into the bar, bought a whiskey, and asked the bartender to put it in a mug. Let me guess, it's that damn nun again, isn't it? Said the bartender.